Prosecutorial discretion. Prosecutorial discretion. That's the discretion that the district attorney has to prosecute criminal cases, to file criminal charges after the police arrest you. The police arrest you on suspicion of committing a crime, and then you go to jail. They file the charges, offer whatever kinds of evidence, and then the district attorney weighs the evidence and decides whether they have enough evidence to charge you. And that's the crimes in which the district attorney decides to prosecute is called prosecutorial discretion. There are many laws many things that are illegal. However, the court doesn't prosecute all of those crimes. Some of those crimes are landlords that violate housing laws and have children living with bed bugs that are eating them away. Now, if a parent was to do anything, or if anyone was to do something to a child, it would be a felony. But when landlords rent out inhabitable apartments with inhabitable conditions and intentionally do so, those cases are not brought forward and prosecuted. The city attorney and the city lawyers are fully aware of conditions that poor people unjustly suffer from when there are particular housing codes and other regulations which would protect them to a certain standard of living. But they quietly put their head down and quietly are silenced because they justify it with the capitalist model. We were at Stanford, is that it would cost too much. And that was the little bit that I wanted to add from the Stanford piece, is that according to the Stanford model, you must have poor people suffering. That was the whole bit behind having a unemployed population. You have to have a desperate, not only an unemployed population, you have to have a desperate, deprived population. So immoral, deceitful, criminal capitalists can have their hellish way with the poor population. It's a part of the model of America. It's a part of the slave model for the slave owner to go to church and to wear fancy clothes and to be deemed as decent, and yet he may have just left the slave quarters where he beat and raped a young woman or a young man. They say now that there are many police in jail. We saw a police in a school. They call him a school resource officer with a gun, and he was a brute. He was intimidating. He was a racist. This was in the South, and it was a population of African American students, and you can tell that there was a cultural divide. And he grabbed the girl, he slammed the girl about, and the teacher who is supposed to look out for the children and his students, and the teacher who is supposedly to meet her mother and father, allowed this to happen in his classroom, even facilitated it. You also have these children in jail. You see them, juveniles, being quote-unquote scared straight by grown men who need a lot of help themselves in being civil and decent, doing a favor for the TV system, the media, and intimidating and terrorizing little small young men in an attempt to entertain America. We're normally we don't want to participate in juries, and this comes to the justice piece because, frankly, black people have been and poor people have been looking for justice, and particularly I'm a historian, so I watched C-SPAN, the History Channel, and was watching a lecturer and say that the Constitution was amended with the 13th, 14th, and 15th Constitution. However, there is no guarantees that those liberties will be achieved because it's a constitutional right, but in the states, and they may not practice or facilitate the exercise or protection of those rights. So, individual who is having their constitutional rights violated, it is inherently vested upon themselves to file a case against their abusers. However, we don't know anything about that. We're discouraged from participating in law, and that's not our relationship with the law. We've been discouraged from participating in the law. We've been discouraged from even recognizing any of our rights or understanding how democracy really works. However, how democracy does work, to some of my understanding, is that when your civil rights, and this is particularly directed for African American people, when they're given the constitutional rights for life, liberty, and the pursuit and full citizenship, and yet the states make these laws against them, regardless of what you call them, Jim Crow laws or any other kind of laws, or the district attorneys in the counties of the states don't enforce the laws, then that's where civil court comes in. So a state court or criminal court is no friend to the black man, because those charges are brought upon by the district attorney's office. So the time when a person gets their rights protected is when they go to civil court. So we need to exercise our rights and know our rights as far as practicing our rights in a civil court. The civil court is our friend, because the civil court is where we go to advocate for our constitutional rights being violated. But we don't know anything about that. You know, and I've been looking for the fruit, for the juicy fruit that can help us. I was like, man, I wanted to call it a carpet, a magic carpet, a gypsy carpet. Gypsy is Roma, and a magic carpet that a black man or a poor man can touch, you know, because a black man don't need no bullshit, you know what I'm saying? A black man needs, you know, freedom today, right now. So you can't present and say, hey, man, this is the next best thing, man. We've been shucked and jived so much, man. We ain't, you know what I'm saying? We super duper action, you know what I'm saying? We don't need no watered down, come help me type thing. I'm saying, so the only thing that's going to get the attention of the brothers that I know, my brothers, is something that actually functionally, phenomenally works instantaneously. You touch this magic carpet and woo, you're whisked away. Wham, you're gone, you know? And so this is it. So I was looking for it, you know? What is the magic? How can we get justice? And so that's it. Civil court. We need to learn about how to file civil court cases and to learn all of the particular specifications of civil court cases. And that needs to be our new rhythm and rhyme. That needs to be our new jive that we get down to. You know, when we stand on the corner and we kick it and we talk, we need to be kicking it and talking about how to advocate and the specific rights that we are using that actually work when we go to court and that actually solve problems. You know what I'm saying? And deliver that type of quality, that type of combustible, intelligent, legal information popping off. Other thing is jury participation. You know, a lot of times we say we don't want to participate in jury. That's the worst thing for us, because when you sit on a jury, you have the power of the court. You have the power of the court. When you sit on the jury, it only takes one juror. It only takes one juror to have a mistrial in the case, because they need to have a unanimous decision. And the court judge will tell the jury to go back to court and try to come up with a unanimous decision. So when you sit on a jury, you know, and they're trying to prosecute our people, you know, or any innocent person, then that is some hell of a power. That's the difference between him going to getting verdict and sentenced to being guilty to it being a mistrial or not guilty. And so we need to flood the jury. We need to, that's our friend. That's our That's our best friend, you know. They say a friend with weed is a friend indeed. Well, but that's our friend indeed, because he's our friend with the answers to our questions. Jury. Because lawyers won't take cases. You know, after I became retired, after I taught school for 20 years in San Francisco and Berkeley and Daly City and Oceanside and Oakland, and I learned that and trying to advocate for my daughter who went to school to San Lorenzo High School, and this high school was made and created for Confederate memory. A public high school in Alameda County, and they got an auctioning block. Back before 1964, they had slave days. Are we? Hello? Yes, it's a fact. San Lorenzo High School in Alameda County on Welling Boulevard. You know, and lawyers wouldn't take the case. And I called the lawyer and I said, well, they're violating my daughter's rights. You know, my daughter's African American, and these people are saying, oh, let's kill and rape and water down and be fanatical about the destruction of black people. And, you know, can you do something? We don't hear anything. We don't see nothing. What's the problem? Well, is there a problem? Yes, there's a problem. Speaking of problems, the damn church, St. John Church down the street, the man plays with the bells going off all the time, and we sitting in our house trying to have our religious and intellectual spiritual freedom, enjoying the decency of watching a movie, and then the bell been calling the church for all this time. Why? Because they're used to abusing their power. They're like, we're supposed to abuse our power. We're supposed to ram it down your throat, and you're just supposed to take it, and that's it. Well, no, we want our rights. Because if I came to your house, and I was banging music in front of your house, disturbing you while you ate dinner, wouldn't you come outside and say, excuse me, this is a problem? But when I come out and say, excuse me, it's a problem, you know, nobody hears nothing. Nobody sees nothing. There's no problem. Lawyers won't take the cases. That's why we got to be our own lawyer. Don't look for no lawyer to take your own case. We have to become our own case. When we get smart young people in our neighborhoods, they got the free library, and we could advocate our city, county, and state representatives to do more to get lawyers to help citizens file their own cases. And by the way, after doing research, there's a big phenomenon nationwide of people filing their own cases because the court system is so corrupt now. The lawyers are so corrupt. They only take cases that they, you know, and they don't come to serve anybody no more. Where's the justice no more? They all want to rub elbows with each other, go have a few drinks, go have dinner, laugh at the poor people with the bed bugs and the children and their face all is talking about, oh, if they didn't want it, they'd move. We can't move. We can't afford it because the Republicans allowed the banking system to give us loans that were predatory, and they knew we couldn't pay back. We worked for generations to try to get in a position to buy a home, and they just pulled it all out from under our feet, you know? And what can we do about it? And we have to become politically active. We have to understand the system, how it was geared against us. That's why I continue to say that we're redesigning civilization. We're trying to redesign civilization because America has many wonderful attributes to it, but it was made in a, well, which leads me right here. It brings me to Aztlan, to Mexico. Now, because the law was made for particular people, because while it was illegal to rape a white woman, and it was unheard of to rape a white woman, they will go down and massacre a whole tribe of Native Americans in the snow after signing a treaty by the president that says that they will be left alone to live forever on this land, to enjoy the water and the mountains and the fishes and the birds and the trees. And then as soon as the Union Army colonel makes an assessment that they can destroy this population with no problem, then they go in and violate the treaty. They remake a treaty without any notification to the original signers of the treaty of the other party. And then they give them an announcement and say, you must go, violating all of their rights when they are the indigenous people on this land. And if they don't listen, then they come in and they massacre them. They make them march like on the Trail of Tears from Georgia after they took the most beautiful land with the peach trees from the Cherokee and the other tribes and made them all march to Oklahoma, where there's no water, no river, no sea, no lake, no nothing. Is that not a crime? Is that not a crime? And never get compensated and never have to even answer for it. And the biggest crime is that at the same time they were trying to promote themselves as being authoritative figures and as creating a wonderful civilization, and they didn't tell France or England or Spain or any of the international world how they were treating Native Americans, that they were massacring Native Americans. They massacred them. They didn't record their baskets. They didn't record their jewelry. They didn't record none of their chants. They didn't record their food, how they made things, their medicine. They were notorious for being medicine and solving problems. Back up the buses here. They didn't record any of these things. And what makes it to tie in, not to get off course too much, but speaking to the rebels, is that after the Confederates lost the Civil War, they ran west, running rebels, and they massacred Native Americans in unrecorded numbers, and with unrecorded heinous crimes perpetrated against indigenous peoples by the Union Army and by the running Confederates. So that's my presentation here under prosecutorial discretion. Prosecutorial discretion. They will watch our children suffer. They will steal and rape our women. They will deny us the basic standard of living that they insist upon and have regulations, but when it comes time to enforce our rights, they see nothing, they hear nothing. And then they go have drinks and laugh at us. We must learn the law in civil law, criminal law, and in public education. You know, I must apologize to my daughter because, you know, I didn't know they had an auction block at San Lorenzo High School. I knew they had a mascot, and I knew that their school was started in racism and Confederate ideologies, but I am fighting now.